This is an aggravation board, and I've made 8 of these now. Anyways, I've got an order for 9 more, and that meant I have to do this since I'd done the original ones all piecemeal. The hard thing is laying these out and drilling all the holes. I was using a drill press and a countersink bit. It was never sharp enough. It tore the wood. Leaves a sharp hole. It's not very pretty. So I figured I saw on YouTube somebody making these kind of boards, aggravation boards, and he's using a router. And he uses a round bit like that to drill the holes. This is a 14 millimeter round nose bit, and he uses a guide which comes with the tool, but it's really big. That's probably a 25 millimeter inside diameter. Well, these are only 22 millimeters apart. There's no way I can make a template with that. So I figured I'd have to make one. You can buy these. I think they're $35 here in Australia. But what I've done is I've taken some 1/2-inch conduit, a piece of scrap metal, and based on this one, the original, I made myself one. And that conduit happened to be a 14.5 millimeter ID and a 19 millimeter OD, which is perfect. I can space these out and the template will work really well. 19 millimeter happens to be the diameter of this spade bit, and that will be, I'll use that in the template. Cut the 19 millimeter holes in the template. That'll be following this pattern. This guide plate, that'll fit into the holes, and I'll make a, hopefully the pattern will allow me to make these 9 boards really quickly. So yeah, see how we go. This worked really well, this little guide. Got it mounted in the router to test. Fits in there really nice and snug. It'll be a real good way to make a template and have it fit in there very accurately every time. It's a piece of 7mm plywood, which is just over 1/4 inch. It's not quite flat, but it shouldn't be a problem. What I'm going to do is make a template that the internal dimensions of these 4 pieces is going to be the size of my board, which is a little over 14, well, it's 14 inches, which is a little over 330 millimeters. So when these are all set in place, that square there would be 330 millimeters, and I'm using that size because I've got a thicknesser over there that has a capacity of 330 millimeter, and if I want to make a board real flat, I'm going to limit it to that. Okay, this is how it looks now. Got the pieces cut, 45-degree angles there, all glued down, clamped, ready to go, or to dry anyways. And by adding those bits, I think I've made it nice and flat. That means when I get the holes drilled, the router goes in there, all the holes will be the same depth. It's 89 holes on it to drill. And we're playing this game with 4 marbles in each corner. Some have 5, some have, maybe 6 players. They're all laid out now. I've drawn a grid on the edges, every 20 millimeters, all the 4 sides, and then I just used a straight edge to mark up where the holes are going to lay out. There's the 4 corners at the base, starting point. There's your home where you're supposed to play to, center, and the regular track. Next step is to get the drill press laid out, and we'll drill these holes nice and straight. All the 89 holes are pre-drilled now. Yeah, well, it ain't pretty. Mainly because that went wrong. Because there's a void in that plywood. Caused it to go all over the place. So this is take 2. Made it out of MDF instead. Because the other one, the gaps here were just too small. And the plywood one, you know, I guess the experts that work with wood all the time probably don't need my help anyway, but plywood just wasn't good because it shattered. There were voids, the grain of the wood, the plies were too small and chip up, and the actual center ended up falling out because the spacing here was just, the plywood wasn't good for it. So this is MDF, the holes are nice and neat, and even with that, the spaces here are still pretty small, and even though there'd probably not be any problem with the center falling out of this, figured to be safe than sorry. I just drill these, and then if I want to do the other one, well, when I do the other ones, I'll just turn it 90 degrees. I can do the other holes. The template isn't perfect, plus it's a little bit of slop, so it can move around. And you can see that hole there's a little bit elongated. So you just have to be careful not to do them twice. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. I've got these boards all sized to fit. Fit here really well. They stay in there. The pattern stays within a millimeter. So, right, so there's the board ready to go. The template down on top. Get my hearing protection on. So, put the template off. You can see here the vacuum, I've turned it off now, but it's pretty well. You can see the different kinds of wood here. Some of it doesn't cut, even though this blade, this router tool is brand new. It's still having trouble cutting this really hard wood. Where I'm doing it wrong, I'm not sure. I'm still learning. But see, it's kind of black. Burning. But it's doing all right other than that. And something else I found out is it's best, these were sticky. The router didn't want to move in and out very well. And I got this graphite. That graphite helps a lot. And it's smooth, it's nice and smooth now, those two posts. You know, I calculated it out. There's 9 of these boards. And each of these boards has 89 holes. I think I said that somewhere before. But that adds up to around over 800 plunges of this router. And it did it all really consistently with that template. Really pleased with that. The router had this little bar, and that little bar slid up and down inside this clamp. Well, it slipped. No matter what I did, no matter how tight I could go, it's just plastic. It would eventually, the bar would go up and up and up, and I'd lose my depth control on how far the base plate went in. So I replaced it with this bolt. It is a just a long thread bolt and a nylock, and it's also clamped, and that was very secure. So I think this little bar, I'm just going to scrap that. Another Makita problem. Well, Makita's a good name. The router works fantastic otherwise. But why they'd have this chintzy little thing here, I don't know.